Jake Paul has once again rocked the MMA world by knocking out Mike Perry, leaving Conor McGregor fuming on Twitter. Joe Biden has dropped out of the most crucial election in US history. Cody Ko is making headlines for having sex with Tana Mojo while she was underage. And more on today's episode of Things I See on Twitter. Just yesterday, Jake Paul TKO'd Mike Perry in round 6 of their boxing fight. And once again, the comments went crazy on this. You had UFC fighters reacting to this. Conor McGregor reacted to this. Now, I watched the whole fight, and it was pretty clear to see from round 1 that Jake was going to win. Mike Perry did land a few shots, but Jake was basically better in every single way. I know that Jake Paul is the naturally heavier fighter. Mike Perry fights at 185. He was coming up to 200. Jake Paul was bulked up to 230 for his Mike Tyson fight, so he was cutting down. So he must have come in 25 pounds heavier, maybe 30 pounds heavier than Mike Perry. And this is what people online were saying to discredit Jake's win. You had his best mate KSI calling him a weight bully. You had his hairline being mocked once again. You had people saying that Jake fights old men, that he hasn't fought a real boxer, that the one time he did fight a real boxer, he lost. Yet all the excuses started to discredit Jake. And then Conor McGregor himself tweets, Jake Paul is the biggest piss bag I have ever seen in my life. 40-pound weight difference, juiced out of his head and still shitting himself in there. Nakisa, you should take him to Vegas. Oh, that's right, you could never. The Athletic Commission testing, real fighting, bitch asses, you could never. And then calling out 60-year-old Mike Tyson of an in-flight medical emergency. I swear to God, a fat can of bitch piss, most valuable piss bag. Now here we have Conor making all sorts of claims and excuses. Jake's being accused of steroids by many people. Now we have Conor McGregor saying this, you had Dana White saying this, you had KSI saying this. Many people have accused Jake of steroids and just about every excuse that could be whipped up. But Conor wasn't the only UFC fighter trashing on Jake. We also had Michael Bisping.
Somebody the same size, the same build, with the same strength and power, of the same experience, would have had a field day with him. He was all over the place. His feet were crossing all over the place. He was swinging. It was wild. It was reckless, okay? And the shit show continues. Why don't you fight a real boxer? Anyone in that top 10, they would smoke him. They would deal him a devastating knockout. They would land crushing blows, and he would be shitting his pants in there. I still don't have respect, because that was pure bully boy tactics. The size difference was remarkable.
And I'm genuinely starting to get sick of seeing all the hate every single time Jake wins a fight. I'm genuinely convinced that none of these UFC fighters have a fucking brain. Oh, Jake, why don't you fight a top 10 level fighter? Why don't you fight a real boxer? You'd get your face smashed in. No shit, if Jake fought a top 10 boxer, he would get his fucking face battered. I don't think people really try and think about it in Jake's perspective. Put yourself in his shoes and let's just think about this constructively and logically, like most people somehow are failing to do. These professional boxers that everyone wants Jake to fight, most of these pro boxers start fighting, let's say the age of 10. Most of these top 10 level boxers start fighting at a young age. Then over the next few years, they train, they have amateur fights, they maybe have 10, 15, 20 amateur fights before these guys turn pro. Let's say they turn pro at the age of 18. So from 10 through to 18, they've already had 10 years of boxing experience, not to mention 10, 15, 20, 30 amateur boxing fights. This is all by the age of 18. And then they fight journeymen in boxing. So even then, if you look at these elite level boxers, look at their first 10 professional fights. Look at who they fought. Any one of these high level boxers, look at their first 5, 10 fights. They're fighting journeymen. They're fighting bums. And then after that, after they get even more experience in the pros, then they start taking on serious competition. How can we expect Jake, after just 6 years of boxing, to just skip all of that? He started boxing at the age of 21, 22, something like that. He's now 27. He's been fighting for 5, 6 years, 7 years at most. No amateur experience. And his first 10 boxing fights. How can we expect him to jump in with someone who's been boxing since the age of 10? Of course he's going to get fucking beat. These guys are crazy. Do you not think? Does this not compute in your mind? This is what all boxers do. They fight journeymen. Their first 5, 10 fights are journeymen after 10 years of training. But you know what, Jake? Why don't you just skip all of that and get your fucking head mashed in? But most people don't even think of this. They don't even realize this. Why? Because Jake Paul has been hated before he started fighting. How many people start a boxing career with 20 million subscribers and the whole world watching them from day one? Most people didn't know who the fuck Canelo Alvarez was when he had his first boxing match. He was a nobody. You only heard of him after he he knocked out fucking 25 cunts. Unfortunately for Jake, he started his boxing career with 20 million subscribers and people already hated him. He was already hated before. And then my last point, let's put ourselves in Jake's shoes. What are going to be his goals? Most likely he wants to maximize revenue and maximize longevity in the sport. Those are the two things he's trying to do. I can almost guarantee it. So what sense does it make for him to just start fighting elite level boxers, get exposed for not being an elite level boxer, and then no one's going to watch his fights anymore? Once he gets bashed a few times and all that hype is gone, where's the money? The money's gone. No one's going to pay to watch him. No one's going to pay to watch him anymore. And then he's got brain damage. If you're Jake Paul, are you going to sit there and think, why the fuck am I going to get brain damage just because everyone else wants me to fight a real fighter? Love it or hate it, that's what all these boxers do, is just fight journeymen for the first few years. After 10 years of training, you just can't expect him to skip all of that. He needs as much experience as possible. He just needs time in the ring. And I guarantee all the people sitting there talking shit, trying to discredit the guy, none of you cunts would do it either. None of you cunts would even beat Mike Perry. The people sitting here shitting on Mike Perry as an opponent, saying Jake was too big and he's a weight bully and he's this and that. Sure, was Jake bigger than him? Was he heavier than him? Of course. Was Mike Perry not the greatest boxer? Of course. Was his defense shit? Yes. This is what literally every single other boxer does as well. So I don't understand how people are getting mad at him. You got to use your brain, man. Use your brain. If you put yourself in his shoes, most of you guys will be doing the exact same thing. And after the fight, Mike Perry would also go on to congratulate Jake Paul for his win. Congrats, Jake. Shout out to Nate Diaz, who went 10 rounds with him. Thanks to everyone who came out. And then later tweeting, my pinky toe hurts. Obviously, this is after Conor McGregor's tweet saying he was fired. And yeah, I think that's a bit far from Conor. I think that's a bit unnecessary. I don't see the point of him doing that. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Moving on, Joe Biden has dropped out of the presidential election. This morning, Joe Biden tweeted officially announcing that he would be dropping out of the presidential election. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. Now look, man, I think we all know why Joe Biden dropped out of the election. There's absolutely no shot on earth if he won the election he was going to make another 4 years. The guy's a living corpse. He's a zombie. He's one of those crawler zombies in COD that you just keep alive till the end of the round. That's what Joe Biden is. He's a crawler. He's just barely functioning, barely being kept alive. I don't care what reason he ends up giving for why he's dropping out of the presidential race. We know it's because he does not have the cognitive ability, he does not have the mental capacity to go another 4 years. But I think more importantly is after Donald Trump sat there and took a fucking bullet like a G, after that Donald Trump is basically guaranteed to win. There's no way you can't not vote for the guy now after he stood in front of a bullet, ate that shit and stood back up, fist in the air like a G. But what's Joe Biden going to do to compete with that? Fall down a set of stairs? If Donald Trump stays alive, he's basically won the election. That was the most gangster thing I've seen in my life. What can Joe Biden do to beat that, bro? He's basically on life support. Donald Trump is dodging death, or Joe Biden is just heading straight for it. He's basically dead already. So I think Joe Biden and his team basically realized that there's no shot on earth he's going to now beat Donald Trump. And even if he somehow did, he's not doing another 4 years. That's basically impossible for the guy. I guarantee he's going to probably die within the next 2. And now Joe Biden has endorsed Kamala Harris, and it looks like she will be running for president instead of Joe Biden. And look, this is a very smart and strategic play. First of all, she's a woman and she's a black woman. People that don't like Trump are going to vote for her. And you know what the campaigns are going to be? The reason you should vote for her will be because she's a black woman. That is going to be the campaign. She's a black woman, marginalized community. That is the play. That's the move they're going for. But we'll see what happens. I think Trump is basically guaranteed to win the election regardless, if he can stay alive, if there's not another assassination attempt. After this news broke out, people were digging up old clips of Joe Biden.
What's Joe Biden going to do? Is he going to stay in the race? Is he going to drop out? Here's my answer. I am running and we're going to win. I'm not going to change that.
And like I was saying, look at the crowd. What's the most prevalent color you see there? And who are these people going to be voting for now? But on to the last story. Cody Ko has been exposed for hooking up and sleeping with Tana Mojo.
Who's the smallest you've ever had sex with?
Oh my God, no one look at me, Cody Ko. I can say that. I was literally 17, I can say that.
Now, people did the math on this and found out if she was 17, he must have been 25. What a mad one. She would later also admit this on her own podcast as well, but it kind of got swept under the rug and things were just silent until YouTuber D'Angelo Wallace made a video about this. And what's even more crazy is the fact that Tana went on to say on a podcast that she was a fan of him beforehand, and he knew that, and she felt like he took advantage of her.
Because I grew up loving him, and I think you know what I mean? Like, I was just like excited and a fan, and like.
That's what it sounds like to me. 25, 17, she would think, sure, you're so funny, I love watching your YouTube videos, this and that. You know, while Cody was thinking, you know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, a lot of people are trying to dismiss her claims because it's Tana Mongeau and because Cody Ko is well liked in the space. A lot of people are saying that, well, 17's close enough to 18 to somehow justify Cody being 25. And this will also later be backed up by Gabby Hanna.
One time, I told a guy, I saw him making out with a girl at a party who was underage, and I pulled him aside and I was like, hey man, you probably don't know, I know she like looks a little older, she's underage, watch it. And he's like, oh my God, thank you for telling me. And then he heard that.
In this video here, we can see her talking about this situation. Now, she didn't name anyone, but with the information we've been given right now, we can assume that is Cody. But after this, Keemstar would also go on to tweet in defense of Gabby Hanna. Years ago, Gabby Hanna told me in an off-record statement that 25-year-old Cody Ko was kissing 17-year-old Tana Mongeau at Playlist Live in Florida. The age of consent in Florida is 18. Anyone 24 or older hooking up with a 17-year-old is statutory rape. Gabby told me she pulled Cody Ko aside to inform him Tana was 17, and Cody Ko said thank you for the warning to Gabby. Gabby said later that night Cody Ko had sex with Tana even though she warned him. I also spoke with Tana to confirm the story. She confirmed it, but at the time Tana was upset with Gabby for sharing the story. There is no new statement from Gabby, but I did get permission to share what I was told years ago. Now, Gabby Hanna told Keemstar this years ago. Tana's admitted it. There's a video clip of Gabby saying this, and also Keemstar has come out in support of her as well. It's going to be very hard to deny this now, and Cody Ko has stayed completely silent on the situation. He has not said a single word. Since this whole thing happened, he lost 250k subs, and maybe Cody Ko has stayed silent on this because he's been too busy to respond. Oh, he's DJing in Vegas. He was DJing at a club called Encore. He was sitting there DJing while this whole drama was unfolding, just having the time of his life, which is understandable. But this is what I genuinely don't get, man. This shit is ridiculously stupid to me, bro. Let's just keep it real. 17-year-old puss and 18-year-old puss. All that shit feel the same. All that shit feel the same. Let's just keep it a buck. So why not just wait a few months, man? Why not just go for someone a little bit older? Is that so hard, just waiting a few months? If it all feels the same anyway, just wait a few months. You're willing to throw your whole career away for some puss on the side. Just wait a few months. Just find someone a year older, 2 years older. Time and time again, we see guys being pedos. We just had Dr. Disrespect getting caught lacking. Just wait a few months. Just find someone a bit older, a year older, 2 years older. Is that so? You're willing to throw everything away for that? For a bit of 17-year-old puss when it feels the same to 18-year-old and 19-year-old? He deserves to lose everything if he's just that dumb to not think ahead. I'm 25. What if this comes out in the future? And for the people trying to defend him because 17 is close enough to 18, exactly, then why not hook up with an 18-year-old instead? If 17 is close enough to 18 and it's basically the same thing, why is he hooking up with a 17-year-old and not an 18-year-old? I don't know, man. This is ridiculously dumb. I've seen so many YouTubers, so many streamers, so many of these people get caught lacking. Just don't fuck with anything under the age of 18. Just simple as that. Do not fuck with it, man. Don't even speak to someone under the age of 18, bro. It's not worth it. I don't understand how dumb these guys are. It's not worth it.